Traveling in the Philippines. First part of my trip, a disaster. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you about this trip. Now, if you're thinking about traveling to the Philippines, you might find it interesting or informative, or you just might find it interesting or a joke. Now, I spent a lot of time in the Philippines because I was on a number of U.S. Navy ships that made port in the Philippines, Subic Bay, as much as a month at a time. So I got pretty much a lay of the land of the Philippines. I made about 5 or 6, maybe 7 trips to the Philippines in the last 5 years, all of them very successful. The purpose of going to the Philippines for me is because of the scuba diving, snorkeling, shell collecting, but mainly to make underwater videos. I've dove the Marshall Islands, all over Florida and the Caribbean, and I find the aquatic life in the Philippines, the best word is to sum it up as really exotic compared to other areas. I hadn't been to the Philippines for the last year and a half because of COVID. Now they've dropped the restrictions to travel to the Philippines, and away I went on a plane to the Philippines, went through immigration, customs, and health, no problem, right out, caught a taxi to the Nichols Airport Hotel. Now this may have been a mistake because Nichols Airport Hotel is now a main quarantine hotel for those that are traveling that come down with COVID-19, and a lot of people go there because there's a hospital right next door to Nichols Hotel. So when I checked into Nichols Hotel, the first thing I did is go out and take a taxi to the Mall of Asia. The reason for that is I had to get a to-go ferry ticket. Now, I'll show you what I do. When you go to the Philippines, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and make all your reservations ahead of time. I use Agoda or Expedia, Priceline, and pay for them because when you get to the Philippines and you try to charge something, they might not take a credit card, or they might charge you a real high surcharge. In the schedule I lay out an extra day in between each place I travel for rest, and also because you never know what's going to happen in the Philippines. I got caught there once with a typhoon, so the extra lay day between one island or another diving area worked out really handy. Now, what I did on my schedule, I made all my reservations, but I couldn't make the to-go reservation for that voyage. So when I got to Mall of Asia, I went to go ticket agent, walked in here and said, I want this voyage. And he goes, that voyage don't exist. I said, well, I got off the internet. He said, they were all pirated. So now my trip's going to be really messed up because I've scheduled everything ahead of time, and I'm going to be off by 3 days. He said, go next door and get an airplane ticket. Okay. So I go on next door. The reason I haven't bought airplane tickets, travel by air, is because I carry extra diving gear and camera gear and batteries, and the extra weight costs you extra money. Anyway, I go over next door, and they said we get the first 20 kilos free, and you can buy another 20 kilos, and the extra couple kilos they'll probably let you go through. Okay, give me a ticket. And the extra weight was only like 28, 30 bucks, 35 bucks, something like that. I said I want to go to Bacolod, Negros. And so she writes out a ticket. Now here's the thing with the tickets on Inter-Island. They don't tell you the island you're going to, they tell you the province that you're going to. The airport's 45 minutes out from Bacolod. Next day, check luggage, they don't charge me anything. I go right, airplane, fly over there. And I'll land, everything's going great, come out, get a driver, tell him take me to the Bell Hotel that I've already made reservations for. And so and it's in town. So he takes off, he goes to town, he's circling around. He says, I never heard of the Bell Hotel. I said, what do you mean? It's the biggest point in Bacolod, Negros. And he goes, oh, you're not in Negros, you're in Pahol. Oh man, now that's a real disaster. I'm 3 islands over from where we're supposed to be. It's about 5 in the afternoon. He says, well, the best thing you can do is catch a plane back to Manila and get this straightened out. Here's a hotel. Okay, so I go into the hotel. They got Wi-Fi, internet, air conditioning, breakfast at 6 in the morning. Here's my credit card. Nope, we're not going to take a credit card. Okay, so now I got to pay cash again. So I go in that hotel, go on the internet, and I look at where I'm at. I can catch a fast ferry to Cebu City. From Cebu City, I can go over to Toledo, catch a fast ferry to San Carlos. Now, I usually go into Bacolod, Negros, and catch a bus or a taxi over to San Carlos, then a Ponga boat over to Slipway Island and Whispering Palms. Okay, so this is great. The next day, everything worked out fine. I get to Toledo and Cebu there, and they go, oh, the ferry's booked. So now my driver is talking, and he talks to some people, and he says, another ferry that leaves at 3 o'clock down the coast. And he says, okay, this is another 2,800 pesos. So we take off. Let's go for it. So he's going down this coast, and this is a near-death experience. I mean, he's hauling ass, moving out, playing chicken with everything coming at us. Tractor trailers, buses, trikes, and everything else, cars. Near-death experience. Finally get to the ferry. But it's not a ferry. It's a landing craft loading trucks and containers on. But there's a bus over there, painted a green, a yellow with a green stripe. That's a Negros bus. He says that bus will go on that barge, ferry, and go on over to Negros, and then it goes from there to San Carlos. Great. I'm in good shape now. My schedule's going to be back on. Everything's fine. And then they charge me about, I think it comes to about $6 for a ticket on that barge ferry. Okay, so I get on there and we go over to Negros, and they take the bus off. I get ready to go on it. They said the bus is all booked. Now I'm in disaster again. So I find a trike driver. I said, I got to get to the bus. I don't know where I'm at. I'm someplace in Negros. That's all I know. I got to get to a bus station. So he says, okay, 450 pesos. No, 400. Okay, so then he takes me. We're traveling through the night on a trike. Another near-death experience. If you travel trikes in the Philippines or taxis in the out islands, you know what I'm talking about. We finally get to the bus station. I go up there. I want to get to San Carlos bus. Oh, that's not till midnight. Okay, so I'm bent down out. I'm walking around thinking, man, this is a bummer. And then all of a sudden they holler, hey, here comes the bus. That's the bus going to San Carlos. Okay, if I get on it, there's only one seat all the way to the back. No air conditioning. This bus is traveling through the night, roads bouncing up in the air, 10 feet in the air, flying around. I mean, it's a rough ride. And we get to San Carlos, catch a trike over to the Palau Hotel. I get there about 11:10. It's still open. I go in there and say, I need a room, breakfast, or no, we don't have no restaurant here. The room had cable TV. So, okay, give me that room. Here's my credit card. No, the credit card don't work. So it comes out to $27. Here's the cash. Okay. So I wake up the next morning feeling all great. I mean, now I'm in good shape. I'm right on schedule. I just got to catch a ponga boat over to Whispering Palms. But they had a guy there diving a few years back. He had a heart attack. So they want a letter from you saying that you got pretty good blood pressure or your heart's good and all that stuff like that. So I head to the hospital to get a doctor to look me over and get to the hospital there. And I go in there and the doctor checks me out. Hey, good, your blood pressure's good, you're in good physical shape. So, but I said I got a little sinus and a little bit of scratches in my throat, not bad. Can you give me a prescription for that? Now, I'll tell you what, when I landed in the Philippines, a couple times I've gotten ill over there, and I've gone to the hospital. And one time I had a slight cough, and they took an x-ray and gave me some prescriptions. Next day I was feeling great, took it back, showed my doctor, and for $65, it was an x-ray and antibiotics. It was gone. He said, well, you got pneumonia. I had pneumonia, but for $65, I got everything taken care of. Anyway, so he gives me a prescription for my sinuses and whatever, but he says, now you got to go take a COVID-19 test. Go down to the hall there, and I go ahead and take the test, and they say come back in 45 minutes. I get my prescriptions filled, come back to give me an envelope. He said, take this back to the doctor. I take it down there and knock on the door, give it to a secretary or nurse, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, I go and sit down. All of a sudden, two cops come out, one there and one there, say, sit down there, don't move. What's this about? They got masks on. And the doctor comes out and says, you tested positive for COVID. Now you've got to wait here until the COVID emergency response people get here and take possession of you. Take possession of me? What the hell's this about? Okay, so I'm sitting there, and these cops are both there watching me. Like right behind me in the hall of the hospital, it's open air, is about as far down into the river here where there's a highway with cars going back and forth and trucks and everything else. I hear a noise just to look out behind me and see two trikes in the air flying around, people floating in midair. And there's a wreck there, okay? And I mean, looks bad the way they're flying up in the air 10, 15 feet. And also, they're all laying out in the road there, and these two cops, they're sitting there guarding this COVID guy. They're not worried about the people dying out there, whatever. So I said, well, a good place having a wreck, right? 100 feet from a hospital, right? Pretty soon I look, and I see there's a red light coming, flashing, and they clear the highway. Okay, this must be the emergency vehicles for all these people that are hurt. And no, it's a COVID emergency vehicle rescue. Then it pulls in there, and then two guys get out, and they got space uniforms on, look like they're ready to land in Mars. Cops go, you go with them. They are now in possession of you. Oh, okay, now they're in possession of me. They walk me down the stairs. I'm heading down the stairs. I look out there, and there these people are. They're still laying in the road, dying, moaning and everything like that, bodies all over. Wow, hospital 100 feet away. So I get in that emergency vehicle, and I'm looking at it as it takes off. I go to the back, and I look out the window, and there I can still see them laying there, dying as the vehicle drives off for about a half an hour out to between two sugarcane fields. There's some buildings there. Go in there, and they test me again, and the guy comes up and says, you tested positive. You've got a quarantine here for 7 days, and then we'll test you again, and I'll show you the facilities. So he goes over in a bunch of rooms there, all with padlocks on them. Unlocks this one, opens the door. I look in there, a gush of hot air hits me, and there's a box spring sitting there and a mattress curled up, about 8 by 8, and a little teeny bathroom there with a sink and a toilet. And man, it's hot. I mean, it's about 120 degrees or better in there. I know 120 degrees. I've been in the engine room on a ship in Persian Gulf. So I says, man, I look at this, and I said, this looks really bad. I said, what are any other alternatives? He said, well, we'll take you to your hotel, but then that'll expense will be on you. I said, okay, take me to my hotel. He said, but here it's free. And I look over and there's 3 caskets there. That's free too. Okay. So they take me to the hotel, and they tell the hotel people if he leaves that room or anything, now you call these numbers, he's in quarantine until we come and get him in 7 days. Okay. So, okay, here's my credit card. No. Cash, all cash, you know, for the 7 days and for food and everything. Anyway, get in that hotel room. I take the prescriptions he gives me. And the next morning I wake up, everything's cleared up. I'm feeling great. I mean, I felt great for 6 days in that hotel there. I was doing started out with 100 push-ups, then 150, then 300 push-ups a day. And after 7 days goes up, here they come back. They come up there and knock on the door, and the 2 guys in space uniforms come with us. And so we go down, we go over there and get tested. I can't test negative. Now here's the only good thing about this whole situation is they gave me a paper and it says the Republic of the Philippines, San Carlos, blah, blah, this guy has been quarantined for 7 days. He has tested negative. He's already been vaccinated. So with that piece of paper, all I got to do is show that at the airport and I fly right out, no problem. Otherwise, 24 hours before you go, catch a plane, you got to go and get tested at the airport, and this drags out for 6 or 7 hours. And then if you test positive, it's in quarantine, you go, and the plane takes off without you. So that was a really great part. I showed him at the airport, and I flew out of there. Now, when I was in the hotel there, in quarantine, the mayor of San Carlos called me up a couple times, seeing how I was doing and everything, chatted, and then he called Whispering Palms, where I had my reservations made, moved them up. And so when I got out of there, I caught a boat over to Slippery Island, went to Whispering Palms, and I got 7 days in there. I think I've had about 6 or 7 dives I made there. Got some interesting video of some interesting creatures I'll be putting on the website here. So if you're thinking about going to the Philippines, or maybe found this interesting.